Be ready 5 seconds. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, it was a pleasure to listen to my friend, but I thought that he would launch his maiden speech as the leader of the opposition with a statement that the season for friendly opposition has started. But I am afraid he has a job requirement, and precisely for that reason, he has used a very critical line. He has said towards the end that he was impressed by the finance minister's speech, but he was disappointed after reading it. My submission is, if he reflects deeply and dispassionately, he will again go back to his initial reaction. He will remain impressed, perhaps more impressed than what he thinks he should have been. I think it is unfair to say that the diagnosis is partisan, and also unfair to say that remedy is going to be worse than the disease. Now, I submit for the consideration of the honorable leader of the opposition that history always does not solve the problems of tomorrow or today. His basic thrust has been that there is a problem. The country is facing crisis, an economic crisis, fiscal crisis, the foreign exchange crisis. It is good to confess that we have a problem. Who contributed how much is a matter of detail, that is a matter of debate. But can you escape the responsibility that this also contributed in a large measure and contributed in an irresponsible manner at a time when the economy was most vulnerable? They had political support from all walks of life, in the sense, both from the left and the extreme right. And their leader was the ex-finance minister who had historically contributed in the earlier so-called devaluation or whatever other kinds of reforms in the country. So, who is preaching? The devil quoting scriptures, something which we are not used to. But the job requirements for my friend could be his constraints. He talked about black money and said that the government had compromised and had not taken deterrent accounts. Would the House like to hear from him what the Janata Dal government did? Did it do anything to recover even 1 rupee of black money? So it does not lie in his face to say that enough is not being done or that the government is compromising with black money. The government is making all efforts to create job opportunities. Mr. Reddy, the basic point that you made is that your so-called 8th plan was promising jobs and money to job seekers. Your government is on record. It took a deceitful action. In the election manifesto you have said that the right to work would be a constitutional right. What steps did you take to convert that promise into reality? How many extra jobs were created? So, it was not only a political rhetoric, but it was a concrete dishonesty. Look at what you promised in the election manifesto and what was there in the president's speech. What followed after the president's speech is systematic running away from the election promises. And ultimately, we ended up with no plan. You created sufficient situation for the next government of 9 months not to get off the ground so far as the plan processes are concerned. At least, they tried better, and they did not promise anything as you did because they had no occasion to formally promise. Now, you have said that the IMF has become an international sovereign. What is the role of the IMF? People do not lend money because they are friends. They lend money on the basis of your creditworthiness. And today, the IMF's signal is required for the rest of the world to revive faith in the Indian creditworthiness which you have eroded first by talking aloud and irresponsibly from the housetop that the coffers are empty. Even a destitute does not say that his coffers are empty. On the one side you are saying that the coffers are empty, and on the other you are trying to collect resources from all over the world. Secondly, not only you shouted that the coffers were empty, whether they were empty or not, but you took sufficient step to deliberately make them emptier. So if you go into the history, the recent history also, that will help your memory. That will also help in moderating your reaction to the budget proposals and taking a more mature, responsible and national-oriented posture towards cooperation and the enthusiasm behind cooperation, so far as economic reforms are concerned. I am glad that he has taken note of 3 crises: fiscal deficit, price rise and foreign exchange. Let me remind him that in 1987, when your party came to power, what was the price situation? And when you left, what was the price situation? And when the Congress came back to power after yours, what was the track record of the government? What did the government do? We are sure that you have repeated the history of 1987. Stop. Like, comment, share and subscribe.